Welcome to IT Week, the show that helps you enhance instruction through innovation.
In today's episode, you're going to learn about the TPACK Framework and how to incorporate it when you are developing your lesson plans. So a lot of you went to NT-TIEs, you went to a lot of different sessions, you learned about a lot of great new tools.
Right, and it's important for you to understand how to implement these tools. You can't just throw them into a lesson. So the TPACK framework can really help you do that. You know, actually, it reminds me, it takes me back to the first time I learned about TPACK. So, Lindsay, I've been preparing some of these lessons, and my principal wants me to contact you because she said that you've been really good with this. So I just want to give you some thoughts that I had as I was planning these lessons. Our school just got some Chromebooks in our schools, and what I would like to be able to do is use some of the tools and the apps, the extensions, all the things that are available, the cameras on the Chromebook. There's a lot of great things that I can do with that, and I just want to take advantage of this great technology. So I guess I was just had that in my head, and I wanted to put that as a part of my lesson. So can you give me some ideas on the best way that I can begin implementing these Chromebooks into a lesson?
Yeah. So Aubrey, a good way to start is to always think about the content first. Initially, when we look at a device, we really think about the technology and how to use it, right?
Right.
So we need to actually take a step back and go back to the content that you want to teach first, and then we'll start planning our lesson.
Okay, that makes sense.
You know I like my tangibles, so I brought this with us that should help us plan a little bit. Okay, so let's start working through it. So Aubrey, have you heard of TPACK?
No, I've never heard of TPACK before.
Okay, so TPACK is a framework that was developed by 3 professors, and they were talking about the different domains of knowledge that teachers have to effectively teach.
Okay.
So we have 3 separate domains. Here we have content knowledge, pedagogy knowledge, and technology knowledge. And they all come together and kind of overlap like a big Venn diagram. So first we have the content knowledge. That's what you teach.
Okay.
So those are your standards as well. Okay. That is what we need to focus on first. That's where we start. And then we have the PK, which is the pedagogy knowledge. That's how you teach. That's your methodology, your strategies that you use.
Okay.
And then finally, we bring in the technology knowledge. And this should just be the partner. Okay, so that's just supporting your content and your pedagogy.
That's where I would bring in the Chromebooks and the tools and that.
Yeah, so that's going to be your last step.
Okay, I have a better idea of what TPACK is, but I think I'm going to need a little bit more hand-holding in terms of creating a lesson with this. So can you help me out with that?
I would love to help you.
Okay, so you said we start with the content, right?
Yes, content first.
Okay, so my students are reading a book. It's about this female, and there is a standard in there. It's RL 7.9, and it talks about comparing and contrasting fictional characters and fictional portrayals. So I was thinking we could start there.
Perfect. So did you know it's Women's History Month? The month of
Oh,
March?
I did. I forgot about that. That's true. That's true.
So that would be a perfect leadway into having maybe your students read about this fictional character, and then you can also have them do some research to compare and contrast actually a historical woman in history. Okay, so now we're going to move into the pedagogy, or the method that you use for teaching. How did you teach compare and contrast typically?
Well, last year what I did was I used a graphic organizer. So we did this whole group, and we put it on the board, and we kind of filled this out together as a whole class.
Okay.
So it was okay. So I would like to do something a little bit different this year.
Maybe something a little bit more collaborative?
Yes, I want to do something like that. I was thinking maybe of splitting the class in half and letting one half of the class do a graphic organizer with the historical figure, and then the other half of the class doing the doing the graphic organizer with the fictional character, and then maybe getting up and then sharing that. Possibly, I don't know. That still feels a little awkward.
Okay.
I wonder if there's a better solution for that.
So that's a great idea. It sounds like you want to have some small groups, some stations going on, maybe.
Yes, that's a good idea. I like that. maybe we could set up multiple stations around the room where students can interact maybe a little bit on their own with technology. I can have a small project in another. Maybe I can do something with my whiteboard and a small group discussion. I can lead that maybe somehow.
That sounds awesome. Have you ever heard of blended learning? That sounds an awful lot like blended learning.
I've heard of it, but I've never really used or implemented it before. So what is blended learning exactly?
Exactly what you said. So we are going to have multiple stations all around the room with different activities. So you'll lead a station, you'll have technology leading some stations, and then you'll have maybe some research going on or some different collaborative groups going on with your kids where they're doing different activities. So they all learn the same content just in different ways throughout the room.
Okay, Lindsay, so now we get to the technology part of this, right?
Right.
So I was thinking about incorporating some video into my lessons. And I know that Discovery Education and Khan Academy, they have some good options on that now. So I was going to implement some of those. What do you think?
So videos are a great option for teaching and reteaching your kids all the time. But what we'll fall into is when we put a video into technology, it is only going to support the content. It's not supporting the method for teaching. So this TCK part of the TPACK model becomes a little one-sided.
Okay. So then I know I've seen you talk a little bit about Go Soapbox, and I know I've used Exit Ticket before.
Mm-hmm.
Would those work a little bit more to balance it?
Those are also great tools.
Okay.
But those tools aren't teaching us the content. They're just supporting our method of teaching. So they're just going to support the blended learning piece. They're not really giving us any content through that technology. So we need to find a piece of technology that's going to help with the content and the pedagogy. It's going to help put those two together.
Okay, so I'm confused then. What options are out there that would fit into that?
For this particular model, Blend Space might be a great option for us because we're doing blended learning. So we might be able to put a multitude of videos and websites and resources for our kids to compare and contrast in that blended learning environment. So it's giving my content and it's supporting my pedagogy at the same time.
Okay, so I think I have a better idea. So with the TPACK, we started with the content. In this case, we had a standard, which was the compare and contrast. And then we went to the pedagogy, which is how we're going to teach this to our students. And for this one, we chose blended learning, and we're going to use the station model where our students are going to rotate to all the stations. And one of the stations is going to be technology, and they're going to use Blend Space, where I can put all different kinds of content from videos to presentations to images, and they can interact with the lesson that way in Blend Space?
Exactly. So you did it. You built the perfect lesson plan. You hit the sweet spot of the TPACK model, where you're infusing technology, pedagogy, and content, and they're all being supported. Perfect job.
Lindsay, thank you so much. Now I know why my administrator wanted me to invite you here. I have a better understanding of how to use TPACK in developing my lesson this way. This is going to be such a great lesson for my students. Thanks again.
I'm glad I could help.
Wow, that was a fun stroll down memory lane. That was my initial introduction into using TPACK.
Seems like you guys had a good time.
Yeah, I did.
One question I did have though, in your memory, it did say something about videos in the classroom and Exit Ticket, not necessarily hitting the sweet spot. Does that make those two options bad ideas?
No, not at all. Just on their own, they don't necessarily get to that middle part of TPACK, but when you take those tools, you take the video and you add them to other components of your lesson, other activities, all those combined can definitely get you there just by itself.
Yeah, so I guess a lot of it depends on the pedagogy that you use.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I guess it depends on the pedagogy you use, and a lot of times even the content.
Yeah.
You kind of merge everything together.
Yes.
So, well, I'm sure that was great for you to kind of check that out.
Yeah.
And Lindsay seemed like a tremendous help.
She was.
Maybe she can replace you on the show.
Not so much.
So guys, thanks for tuning in.
Lindsay.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Make sure you check out our website, j.mp/cmslearnsnet. Also, nominate that Innovative Teacher of the Month. We got that coming up, I believe, next week.
Yep.
So check that out. Also, check us out on Twitter. Our handle is @CMS of the Core. Thanks again for tuning in. Make sure you guys check us out next week for another edition of ITV.